In the beginning was the Logos, the Big Bang, the primordial Om. Big Bang theory says that the physical universe spiraled out of an unimaginably hot and dense single point, called a singularity, billions of times smaller than the head of a pin. It does not say why or how. The more mysterious something is, the more we take for granted that we understand it. It was thought that eventually gravity would either slow the expansion or contract the universe in a big crunch. However, images from the Hubble Space Telescope show that the universe's expansion seems to be actually accelerating, expanding faster and faster as it grows out of the Big Bang. Somehow, there is more mass in the universe than physics predicted. To account for the missing mass, physicists now say that the universe consists of only 4% atomic matter, or what we consider normal matter. 23% of the universe is dark matter, and 73% is dark energy, what we previously thought of as empty space. It is like an invisible nervous system that runs throughout the universe, connecting all things.
So, my body, my intelligence, my mind, your mind, my memory, your memory, my experiences, your experience, all different. But there is no such thing as my consciousness and your consciousness. It is just that it is only the human creature on this planet who has the neurological capability and sophistication of mechanism that if they allow it, they can access this dimension of consciousness. No other creature is really capable of accessing it. This doesn't mean there is no consciousness in them. Without that, the life process wouldn't happen. There is consciousness even where there is no body, all right? Only thing is, you need a certain sophisticated instrument to access that, which is the human mechanism. This is why we consider being human is a great privilege, because you have access to dimensions beyond your physical boundaries. That is the fundamental significance of being human. So, let us not misunderstand the instrument and what we see. If you take a telescope and see, you saw another galaxy, but the galaxy is not produced by the telescope. The galaxy is there. The telescope only gave you an access. Similarly, your body, your brain, whatever, I don't want to identify different things, from your hair to your toes, everything is body as far as I'm concerned, including your brain. It is just another dimension of the body. So this body, if we keep it in a certain way, if we do not contaminate it with too many ideas, philosophies, identities, if you keep it in a certain level of openness, this will become an access point to what we are referring to as consciousness or the basis of the life that we are, in a way. So somebody can call it consciousness, somebody can call it a being, somebody says this is God. Well, we can use as much vocabulary as you want. Essentially, we are trying to put a meaning on something which cannot be defined, which has no meaning.
The ancient Vedic teachers taught Nada Brahma, the universe is vibration. The vibratory field is at the root of all true spiritual experience and scientific investigation. It is the same field of energy that saints, Buddhas, yogis, mystics, priests, shamans, and seers have observed by looking within themselves. It has been called Akasha, the primordial Om, Indra's net of jewels, the music of the spheres, and 1,000 other names throughout history. It is the common root of all religions. And and the link between our inner worlds and our outer worlds.
It turns out there is a scientific revolution going on now about the mind-brain discussion, the relationship between the two, that is extraordinary. And I think it's going to lead to a complete shift in our worldview that is unprecedented. And this living in a mindful universe is really about that scientific revolution.
Are you discounting whether the brain controls consciousness?
No, I think what we would say is the brain is a reducing valve or filter that allows primordial consciousness in. That is, the brain is not the creator of it.
Eccles seems to be, as a dualist, is saying there is a realm of consciousness completely independent of the physical body. And at that point, we begin to see the brain not so much as the manufacturer of consciousness, like the philosopher John Searle would say, the brain produces consciousness like the stomach produces digestion.
Yes.
Eccles and others who are dualists would say maybe the brain is the receiver of consciousness, like a radio receiver.
Exactly. And I think that is a beautiful analogy that has been used way back from the time of people in the 1800s, for example, William James. That was a beautiful analogy that I think still holds very well, that perhaps you have this non-local consciousness and the brain is receiving information from that non-local consciousness, which could be, again, your own mind, but perhaps other people's minds as well in the universe. And you receive that creative information. It comes into your local consciousness of your mind and then down to affect your brain.
So the brain acts as a filter.
Definitely. And what's interesting to me is here, in fact, what you were just saying is that many materialists might also understand the idea of filtering. That's absolutely the case. And when I was a young graduate student and we were talking about how it is that we have this incredible amount of information flooding our senses, visual information, auditory information, etc., how is it that I only really see you and I don't see all the other things that are coming in, flooding my senses? And the point is that they believe our nervous system has to filter this information for us to be able to make sense of our universe. And for me to be really talking to you in a very coherent way without letting all this other stuff distract me.
Well, you've pointed out in previous interviews the experience of non-local awareness, which is like infinite, that you have a sense, I gather, you might feel like experiencing the whole universe at one moment.
That is true. And I think we hear that from great sages of various traditions, that they have had this experience. I think that they also say that simultaneously they can be functioning at the local level, interacting in their filtered way with the people around them very effectively. In fact, I've heard some of the people who talk about these sages say that they typically are not in a thinking mode when they don't need to be, but then they go right back into their more local contracted consciousness when they need to be, of having that filtered awareness.
In other words, while this contracted consciousness seems to be pretty useful for driving your car, tying your shoelaces, and all the things that we have to do in the physical world, the brain might be capable of much more than that.
Exactly. And I think that what they're actually saying is that when we quiet our thoughts down, which are, in a certain sense, our filters so that keep us from seeing very many things, it's when the thoughts are minimal that we can actually expand and experience much more creativity, much more information from perhaps a non-local realm that actually can improve the outcome of whatever we're thinking about or planning.